Is Tracy Hansen, and you are listening to Outside the Box. All content and opinions aired on this show are a reflection of myself and Outside the Box. They do not reflect the content and opinions of the station or network we are broadcasting from. You are listening to 91.5 FM and the Greater Falls Community Broadcasting Company. If you'd like to participate in today's show, please email me at btracyh@gmail with questions or comments.
You tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it.
So do you let life run you, or do you find yourself just saying things like, oh, it's just the way it is, or there's nothing I can do about it, or how about this one? It's the way it's always been done, or it's the law. I can't fight City Hall. That's what we call mind chatter. It's like when you're trying to talk yourself into accepting the inevitable. We may not know what to do about what's happening in our life, and so we do nothing. This mind chatter is an attempt to be letting us at peace with that choice. There's two people who are now getting ready to go to work, and they're riding an escalator.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello?
So
there are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's not enough left to do. So.
What happened once the escalator stopped? These two people stand on the stairs, yelling for help. Now, this is an extreme example, that these two people, who are obviously business people and must be intelligent, can't think of a way to get off the escalator. They are letting life take charge. All they need to do is walk up the stairs and go on their way. Instead, they wait for someone to come and help them. Now, do you think if they had been a pair of 4-year-olds that they would sit and wait for somebody to help them? Or would they just go to solving the problem and getting off to the escalator and on to what it was that they were doing? It doesn't matter where you're coming from to be able to ask questions. Outside the Box is part of Next Generation Global Education, which is an international organization serving people from around the world. I think it's time that we stop letting life live us and that we take charge back. Life needs to be embraced, and we have the ability to change and improve it. Once you learn how, you'll never really want to go back. There's a famous person who's been talking about changing education, the paradigm, for a number of years. His name is Sir Ken Robinson. People listen to him. They pay big dollars to go to his conferences, but unfortunately, they don't hear him. Listening and hearing are not the same. Let's listen to what he has to say.
We live in two worlds, don't we? There's a world, as a guy called Robert Wicken once, I thought, very nicely put it. There's a world that exists that exists whether or not you exist. A world that came into being before you did. It was here before you got here. It'll be here, all being well, after you've gone. It's the world of other people, events, other circumstances. Our education systems are pretty obsessed with that world. But there's another world that exists only because you exist. It's the world of your own private consciousness, the world that came into being when you did. The world, as somebody once said, where there's only one set of footprints. A world of your private passions, your motivations, your aspirations, your hopes and your talents.
So, what my work does, in a sense, is to introduce a way to be able to just do that. To learn and understand about yourself and your passions and what it is you want to create and how it is you're going to do that, not only for yourself and becoming a better person, but also for those people around you in your community, your family, your country, and for the world. This is Tracy Hansen, and you're listening to Outside the Box. And you are listening to 91.5 Wool Radio and the Greater Falls Community Broadcasting Company. To participate in the show, please send your questions and comments to btracych@gmail.com. And remember to put Outside the Box, or OTB, in the subject line. To make this show, or to turn this show over to you, I need to have your input. Because eventually, it's through your questions and your comments that the show will be molded around. I want to go back to what Sir Ken talked about with the two worlds. And it's the second one we need to explore and understand more closely. I looked up the word to be enlightened, and it means to gain a greater knowledge and understanding about a subject, and in this case, about ourselves. But how do we get there? How do we become a people always striving to be better? And how can we, any of us, live a truly inspired, successful, productive life? For each of us, the answers may be different. But what is important is that you answer the questions. What matters to me? Fulfills me? What gives me my life meaning? What is it that I really want? Answers don't always come easily. And if we're really honest with ourselves, they may not be the answers we expect. Sounds so easy, doesn't it? Just ask questions. But those questions are what start us on the pathway of learning. Children know that. At the age of 3 and 4 years, they're asking an average of 100 questions a day. Yet when they begin school, that number begins to drop. And by middle school, they're asking half of that many questions. And by high school, they pretty much stopped asking questions. They don't need to ask questions because they're told what the questions are and what the answers are. And I'd like to give you a glimpse into who I am and what I do. From the last couple of weeks, you probably think that I'm very political, which I'm not. I am an educator, and my thoughts on education are my thoughts and not necessarily those that are in the traditional system, but ones that I hope will become the way we think of learning and education in the future. I'm the founder and CEO of Next Generation Global Education. It's a group of individuals, companies, organizations, and communities who use a tool called the Matrix of a Learner. What do you think of when you hear the word learner? When I ask that in my travels, I usually would get something like, well, they're in school, in elementary school or in high school. Those are the learners. But according to the Matrix, a learner is defined as any individual or group who explore their environment to gain knowledge. Let me say that again. And think about yourself and others that you know. Do you fit into this? A learner is any individual or group who explore their environment to gain knowledge. When you understand this definition of a learner, you can see the matrix is for all people of every nation. It doesn't matter what your color is because you explore your environment, or your religion, or your wealth, or your language. None of that matters because each one of us explore our environment to gain knowledge. And not only as an individual, but as a group. If you're a business and you're looking at where you want to go from now into the next 5 or 10 years, you first have to explore where you've been, define where you are, and then learn where you're going to go. So it works about anything that you want to apply it to. And the matrix recognizes and accepts the fact that learning does not happen in the same way or at the same time for any two people. However, what is it that drives every learner is the same. What drives us as learners to explore our environment is our curiosity, the desire to find answers to the questions that we're asking. So Ken said in one of his conferences that curiosity encourages us to push boundaries into uncharted territories. Now, if we're doing that, we are not letting life live us, but challenging life so that we can live it successfully. The Diane Rehm Show started as a local program to one that now is international and has a reach of on-air of more than 2.4 million listeners. And what is it that has been motivating her? It's her innate curiosity, which is reflected in the topics her program covers, which range from the Iraq and the U.S. economy to the art of landscape design and James Joyce Ulysses. In fact, President Obama, when awarding her the National Humanities Medal last year, said, "Miss Ream's keen insight and boundless curiosity have deepened our understanding of our culture and ourselves." I think it's time that we reverse the trend of letting life live us. And we begin to do that by exploring our environment and asking questions. In the last few minutes of the show, I want to explore a recent event that happened on Sunday. I'm sure you're all going to know what that is.
And the Democratic nominee for President, Hillary Clinton.
For you Trump people, I didn't mean to cut off his introduction. It's just that I wasn't running 3 buttons well at the same time. Now, we all know that event was the second presidential debate which took place this past Sunday. So let's just explore maybe the first couple of minutes of the debate. For example, here's the first question that was asked by a member of the audience.
Thank you and good evening. The last presidential debate could have been rated as MA, mature audiences, per TV parental guidelines. Knowing that educators assign viewing the presidential debates as students' homework, do you feel you are modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
Whoa, what a loaded question that was. And if you listen to their answers or read the transcripts, which I did, you'll find out that neither one of them answered it. And maybe it's because she didn't make them accountable for what she was talking about. What behaviors is she referring to in that question? Whether I had watched the videos of the first presidential election or listened to the commentaries or read the transcripts myself was irrelevant. Obviously, her tone of voice, even though her face and everything doesn't show it, was one of disapproval. But what are the specific behaviors that are being questioned? Because neither one of the candidates bothered to address that, it was a wasted time for all of us and a wasted question. Had the question been more direct, it would have demanded them to take responsibility for their behavior. And isn't that what we demand of every individual? Perhaps a better question should be something like, do you agree that modeling such behaviors as, and you list them, are guiding our youth in a positive way? Explain how it does or it doesn't. Now, in the matrix of a learner, there are 5 guiding lights, or groups, responsible for mentoring the learner to be as successful as they can. Those are the parents and family, the peers, the educators, the community, and the global citizens. These 2 candidates are responsible to the learner as an educator, as a community member, and as a global citizen. So the questions become, did either of you fulfill your responsibility to our learners to guide them towards success? And I emphasize the word learners, because that includes us all. Clinton's response, although it didn't address the question, raises a multitude of other questions. She seems to have a lot of doubt in her statement because she says, if we work together, if we overcome this divisionness, that isn't an option anymore. If we are going to survive as a race, then these things must be overcome, not just by us as a community, but as us by a country, a nation, and a world. She talks about looking for ways to accomplish her goals. But we already have a way in the matrix of a learner. It's not up to one person, group, or a party to determine the goals and how to solve them. It's our responsibility. First goal is that we must clearly define the eye of the matrix, not by one or by one party, but by the group that it's going to affect. We can't be any more passively sitting on the sidelines and letting life live us. We need to explore and identify what the roadblocks are in the way of reaching the goals that are set out. Then as individual members of that group, we have to identify and take responsibility for the roadblocks that we've built. We need to learn how, using those guiding lights, to eliminate the roadblock, take the responsibility to create a solution which we can give back to the group. That create and give back is the matrix's way to test the knowledge that's been acquired. Superficial testing, such as used by the traditional education system, does not hold any accountability for learning. You can train well to take a test, but you must understand well to find the solutions. I often get frustrated when I hear the government's uproars of school accountability, when we don't seem to see any accountability from them. Did you listen to the debate? Did you feel like it answered any of your questions? I urge you to listen or print the debate out and review what the discussions were and ask questions. Send those questions and the comments to me, btracyh@gmail.com, and remember to put outside the box, or OTB, in the subject line. Rather than being passive participants letting life live us, let's ask the questions and become active participants in living life successfully and happily. You've been listening to Outside the Box with me, Tracy Hansen.